Time kills all deals, and you don't want to have to wait hours or days for a seller to send you photos. If they're at the house, and they can snap pictures right here, right now, and they're comfortable with that, great. If not, don't make it a make or break thing. Okay, we can ask the right questions and get enough information to make an accurate enough offer right out the gate. So questions asked the seller. We want to always confirm the number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms that a house has. The reason for this is because the auditor is not always accurate. Zillow is not always accurate. The MLS is not always accurate. There are a number of times that we've talked to sellers where they either add a bathroom or add a bedroom, or maybe they tear down a wall and they take a 3-bed and convert it to a 2-bed because they wanted a bigger owner suite, okay, for a bedroom. So we always ask and we take the seller's word for it because they're living in the property. Now, if for some reason they lie to us and we walk through the property and the bedroom count or the bathroom count isn't exactly what they told us, obviously that could greatly impact the value of the home. That would be grounds for renegotiation if need be, okay? We asked them, when was the last time you made any updates in the bathroom? And then we want to know exactly what it was that you updated. For example, changing a light bulb is not a massive upgrade, or changing the toilet paper holder is not a massive upgrade. I want to know, did you change the shower surrounding? Did you change the vanity? Those types of things, right? We want to describe the bathroom in detail. What exactly does your vanity look like? What about the shower? What's the surround look like? What kind of tub do you have? Is the shower, is it tile or is it all vinyl? What type of flooring do you have in the bathroom? Okay, then we want to do the same thing for the kitchen. When's the last time you did any updates in the kitchen? What exactly was updated? Updating a microwave is not a big update, right? We want to know, did you put new cabinets in? Did you update the countertops, right? What style of cabinets do you have? This is what we go back to, if you remember components of a house training. Would you say this is more of a 60s kitchen, an 80s kitchen, a 90s kitchen, or a more modern kitchen? What kind of countertops do you have? How old is the roof, right? We're not asking, are there any roof leaks or is your roof functional? Functional and dysfunctional is completely different than the age of the roof. We want to know the age of the roof and then also identify if it's a 3-tab or dimensional shingle, because we're going to take whatever the age is and benchmark that against the life cycle of the roof. For example, the design life is 20 years and the roof is 20 years old. We should budget for replacement. But if the roof is 20 years old and the life expectancy is 30 years, we have plenty of time left. We don't have to replace that roof. We also want to know the condition and the style of the windows. Are they wooden, aluminum, or are they vinyl? We also want to know the age of them. Again, how old is the furnace and AC? Not, does the furnace and AC work? You can have a furnace and AC that's 30 years old and it works, but it could die at any point in time. That also would not pass an inspection. How old is the water heater? It's the hot water tank or the water heater, right? We want to benchmark this towards the life cycle. Some more questions that we would ask are there any electrical updates? Do you have 2-prong outlets or 3-prong outlets? We want to identify if there's any specific components that we have to go in and update. What type of plumbing do you have? Again, we have to understand if there's any risk for any unknown plumbing change orders or things that could pop up, issues that we don't know about early on, that once we get into the project, we could run into. Like, for example, I shared that we found for 1940, 1950, actually anything older than 1970, if it's sat vacant for 2, 3, or even more years, and then all of a sudden you start running water through the drains inside the house again, because of the material makeup of the cast iron, it could erode where that erosion inside the pipe makes it smaller and there's less flow. But even worse, when it erodes like that, you have the material that becomes much more brittle. It's much more likely to crack and break. And when it cracks and breaks, then you have all this water damage on your ceilings or in the walls and on the floors. And that typically ends up being a higher expense than just fixing the actual plumbing issue. So we just always want to make sure we're accounting for these types of things. What type of siding do you have on the property? Is there a garage? When it comes to the siding, we also want to make sure that if it's wooden, is there any wood rot? That can become very expensive very fast if you have to go and replace a lot of dry rotted wood. If we want to know if there's a garage, because we need to know from a comparable perspective, and we're running comparable sales, we want to look at other houses that have garages if we have a garage, or if we don't have a garage, we have to look at other houses that don't have garages, right? Are there any structural issues that you're aware of? We want to identify and ask them, hey, do you know of any structural issues like foundational cracks in the basement? If they say no to this question, we walk into the house and then there's cracks. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you told me there were no issues. Well, here's a photo. Bang, I've got this issue. This is a $7,000, $12,000, $15,000 item that's grounds for renegotiation, okay, if need be. What type of flooring do you have throughout the house? Right, what kind of condition is the flooring in? When was the last time you put that floor in, or when did you put the floor in? Does the property have a basement, or is it on a slab? If you have a basement, is the basement finished? Is the water and the sewer, is all that all set up with the city, or do you have a septic and well where it's all private? Okay, we have to understand this because then we need to identify if we're going to have to get a septic and well inspection. Right? We don't want to just, those are very, 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 very expensive components. But not only that, when you're looking and identifying on some of the more rural properties, if something has septic and well, and then we have to make sure that the comps also have septic and well. There are some circumstances that we've ran into where our property has septic and well, but all of the comparables are tied into the city. That could really, really drastically impact your resale value because some buyers may not want to deal with a septic. They may not want to deal with well water. Okay, so we have to make sure that we understand that. Now, again, we can always ask seller for photos. If they're willing and able to do that, if they're in the property, by all means, ask them, hey, would you be willing to share a photo of the kitchen, of the bathrooms, your living area, and each wall in the basement. Now, I don't want to wait hours. I definitely don't want to wait days or even weeks for a seller to send this over. If they have it readily available, great. If not, don't make this a make or break thing. If we can get photos, obviously that gives us a better line of sight on the condition and helps us determine everything that would need to be done for this property. Okay, so those are all the questions that we ask the seller in order to understand the property condition before we ever walk into the property. Again, this is important in helping us determine a preliminary repair estimate to then underwrite our deal to make an accurate offer before we go spend the time. We hire inspectors, we hire contractors to get into the house and put everything together for us in order to do our final underwriting.